Bioshock originally came out in 2007, which is 18 years ago, which is an insane thing to think about. And considering how many games actually say they were inspired by a Bioshock, or this is because of Bioshock, or insert this feature was there because I remember playing Bioshock. And strangely enough, Bioshock 4 still hasn't come out. It's been a long time since Bioshock Infinite. I wanted to go back to Bioshock 1, the original one, as far as I could go, and play it for myself and see how it holds up. Now, before I go on, I do have to say that I played the PC version of Bioshock, not the remastered version. So it still is the original one, and you can tell because the I had to fight resolutions. And while the game actually is really good when it comes to like an old game launching on modern hardware, I did have to do a lot of resolution stuff. Also because I was recording it, so it old games do not like it when you tab out, so I had to fight that. But other than that, the game actually ran pretty flawlessly. I think it crashed on me once randomly, but other than that, it was totally fine. And so before we start talking in more in depth about the game, I'd like to remind everyone to please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you do. I do these types of videos on Fridays, so if you'd like to come over in the channel on Friday, check out these videos. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike this type of stuff. It helps me a lot knowing your feedback. So, starting with just the beginning of the game, while I'm not going to be doing a full recap of the game is from 2007. If you want to go find a full recap, I'm sure you can go find it somewhere. I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the game in a more modern sense because, I am playing games still nowadays. And while I didn't play Bioshock originally when it first came out, I did play it only a couple years later. And I really enjoyed it when it first came out and when I first played it in the first few years after its launch and release. And playing it nowadays is full of nostalgia. Of course, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of nostalgia, but there's also a lot of almost relief of how simple, not, or maybe not simple, but how games in that era were. Because not once did I have to worry about experience points, battle pass, microtransactions, or any of that type of stuff, even in modern day single player games, that they have that sometimes. And there wasn't side quests that you have to grind out. It was just a first person shooter, semi immersive sim game that has RPG elements. And it was just so nice to play a game like that again. And it really did make me want to go back and play other old games, which I probably will, because it's such an odd thing to say that I was so happy when I was playing Bioshock that I was just playing Bioshock and I wasn't worried about weird other mechanics other than playing the game and doing the core things. And just to go before, we go more in depth into the gameplay, the story of Bioshock is really good. Obviously, I know what happens. So, obviously, the twists and turns aren't going to be shocking to me. But I do have to say, even though, while it is not obvious a surprise, the writing in this game is still amazing. And even though I know everything that happens and I've heard all of the voice lines and all the calls and all the nods to everything hundreds of times at this point, it still is really good and it's still really nice to hear and still really well thought out, I think, which says something because even though, I'm not shocked that, the would you kindly stuff, but it's so cool to see it and just have it be there. And of course, through the whole game, it's amazing that they did the whole would you kindly stuff, and it is amazing. Even without the shock, it's still really cool. And I really love that fact. And then moving on from the story, the writing, to the graphics, because these are the two things I probably am not going to be talking about the most because, it is an older game and I know what it looks like. But even today, in nowadays, I still think in a 2020, 2025, I don't know why I said 2000 there, in a 2025 mind frame, the game still looks really good. And we're coming from a point where I feel like certain games from the 2005 and onward, games graphics even nowadays still look pretty good. Obviously games from the early 2000s when 3D games were just starting, late 90s early 2000s, when the game 3D graphics were kind of starting to kick off, but it was in this weird transition phase. But we are full in 3D stuff, and It looks amazing. Some of the lighting effects are really cool as well, and the character models are still really decent. And honestly, the little girls are still really creepy, even if we know what they are now and like everything that happens. It's still really interesting to see. And now we move on to the gameplay of Bioshock. And the reason I wanted to mostly talk about the gameplay is because Bioshock to me feels so nice to play personally because it just has a really good flow to it. And because of the gun or plasmid system, it just feels so nice to shoot things. And even me playing not very well, like I'm sure you're seeing in the gameplay in the background, I'm not the best player. I'm mostly just spamming things. I'm not really aiming that hard. It's just really fun to play and to shoot things and to zap things and to hit things with your wrench. And it is strange to me because like the shooting in Bioshock isn't really revolutionary in any way. Like the reason people remember Bioshock is because of the story. It's because of the little girls. It's because of the big daddy. But the actual gameplay of Bioshock is very standard, or at least not that innovative in terms of raw gameplay. Like I think the having shooting and the magic stuff with the plasmids, well, it's not technically magic, but it's basically magic, is interesting. But it's like other games have kind of done that before. Like Bioshock is heavily influenced from System Shock 2. So like it still feels like it is a similar thing. And it's so strange to me that the thing I enjoyed mostly nowadays is the gameplay because that was the thing that most people don't really care about. So it feels strange to be like, yeah, I really enjoyed playing BioShock now that I already know the story and all the clips and all the twists and turns of the story, and like the shock aspect is kind of gone because I know all the characters. Just playing the game is fun. And even though I think, from at least my memory, I enjoyed the gameplay of Bioshock 2 slightly more, only because of the hacking minigame being changed. It's still really interesting to me that I enjoyed playing the first one so much. And because, like, the shooting is just regular shooting. Like, there's no aim down. I mean, there's kind of aim down sights. I'm not really. And you're just shooting. There's different ammo types, to be fair, with so you can do the armor penetration or the anti-personnel weapons depending on the gun. The upgrade system is really fun, and I don't know why, but I've also really enjoyed the BioShock upgrade system, even though it is very basic. But I feel like it's just one of those types of games where everything together, even though they didn't do anything super crazy at the time, other than the story, I would say, and of course the story and the world building is just so interesting to me that because those types of games, like these types of single player first person shooters, aren't really a thing anymore. And it's strange to me because like they did so well for so long, but the lure of microtransactions and multiplayer games really made a lot of studios go in a different direction, especially the AAA studios. And it's probably why we haven't had BioShock 4 in so long. So so it feels like it is a not just a different era, it's almost like a different genre of game nowadays. Because unless you're going to the indie scene, single player first person shooters are pretty rare. And the ones that do exist generally are more on the immersive sim, like hard or art, like really hardcore RPG, like the Cyberpunks. Though I guess people might yell at me for saying Cyberpunk 2077 is a hardcore RPG because it's not really, but it's on the more RPG side than I would say than Bioshock. Because Bioshock is a linear game. You're not changing the story in Bioshock for the most part. I mean, there's different endings in Bioshock, but you're not making RPG dialogue choices, I guess. And just it being the base of a lot of more modern games. And funny enough, I've never played System Shock 2. And every time I played Bioshock, like I've gone back to Bioshock every once in a while when the remakes first came out, or remastered, I should say. I first played them, and it does feel like that I should probably play the System Shock games one day. And maybe that'll be on the docket for later. One day I'll play the System Shock games because Bioshock is a lot of things are based off of it, and a lot of things are inspired by it. And Bioshock itself became an inspiration for a lot of other games. It's similar to Deus Ex, where everything is either based off of Deus Ex, System Shock, or Bioshock, I feel like. So it feels like one of those games that changed everything, but nowadays it's a game that people remember fondly, but it's only for the story and the writing and the world building. But the gameplay I think is super fun. And it's really strange to me this for me to be saying this constantly and trying to like reinforce it of saying like my favorite part of BioShock nowadays still is just playing the game and playing the gameplay side of it. Like I don't really care that much about the cutscenes anymore because obviously I've seen them all, but just the minute to minute gameplay of going around Rapture and shooting splicers, getting more upgrades, you know, rescuing the little girls for better upgrades and plasmids and stuff like that. It's so interesting to me that that is what I want to do now. Because before, people never talked about the gameplay of Bioshock, at least from what I saw and what I read all the time. It's like, man, this story is cool. The Would You Kindly memes at the time, and the just like the meta game of the decision of making it a reason why you're just doing whatever the game is telling you to do is super interesting and still is interesting. Honestly, I don't know if we'll get anything better than that in a I don't think we've ever really gotten anything better than that in a long time. I don't think so, honestly. Nothing comes to mind initially when I think about it. And then the Big Daddy boss fights as well. While obviously the beginning ones are pretty simple, but like they get really complicated eventually, and it's also probably why I like BioShock 2's gameplay a little bit more than BioShock 1, because they really go ham when it comes to the Big Daddy fights. But even so, the first BioShock does really well, I think, in the boss fights, even if they are just a little bullet spongy, even on normal difficulties. And I do think the slight open world exploration is slightly confusing depending on how you go. I do kind of wish that you could change plasmids a little easier because I did find myself in one time wanting to melt ice and not be having access to the fire one for a little bit and having to find where the things to change it is. So I mean that might be a skill issue on my part and I totally understand that, but there is some part of it being like, oh, it's too bad that like some of the open worldness may be weird sometimes. And to be fair, it is their first game and it's only semi open world because it's like you are blocked off. It's more of like a Metroidvania open world, I would say. But it does feel nice to explore the world and to look at all the nooks and crannies. Though I do say looting in Bioshock is one thing that is kind of meh because you're not really looting anything. If you're not like, there is no real items to get, I feel like, because it's either money or ammo. And that's basically it. Like it's cool to drink, like to drink the coffee and drink the alcohol and have the plus minus depending on health or your plasmid bar, but like it really doesn't matter. I usually just spam the E button and just pick up everything, and it doesn't really matter. Now, to be fair, it might matter more on harder difficulties because, you know, maybe it's harder to heal and harder to get that type of stuff. But I'm generally playing games on their regular difficulty, and on regular difficulty, the looting, unless it's money or ammo, it doesn't really matter, which kind of sucks. It'd be kind of cool if they added something to loot. And to be fair, they do with like the big loots are obviously the more weapons and the more plasmids, and the buffs or minuses to your weapons and stuff like that. Your I can't remember what they're called now, but your personal upgrades that you can select a couple of depending on where you are in the game. And I guess those are kind of cool. So there is stuff to find, so it's not just random loot. Like there is no like there's always a chance to find something interesting if you haven't memorized all the locations. Obviously I haven't, but you know, I'm sure the veteran players can find exactly what they want right away depending on what they're doing. And so it feels interesting that the looting feels boring but also at the same time feels really exciting, but it's because like the big things are interesting to find, but like looting enemies or random tables and stuff like that doesn't matter. Like you're never going to find anything interesting that isn't a glowing object. You know, you're not going to find anything cool in a box, which I don't know if that is just the RPG player in me being slightly sad or the more modern RPG player. Maybe I'm too Baldur's Gate 3 pilled because if I open a box I want to find something cool. And BioShock, it's not really about the looting, it's more about finding the upgrades and stuff like that and like progressing your Jack basically, and saving the little sisters obviously, or harvesting them. I guess I honestly have never harvested them. I can't do it. It is impossible. I am the perfect person for video games don't make you violent because I can't make evil decisions. I feel too bad for the virtual people in this virtual world. Can't do it. Can't do it. And it feels like I said nearly at the beginning, Playing Bioshock 1 made me realize how brain rotted I feel when it comes to single player games. Because, like, the positive things that I listed off earlier on in for Bioshock was that there was no, like, leveling grinding system, side quests that you had to finish to get the true ending, or, like, random microtransactions that you could buy in the store, and battle pass experience showing up on your screen when you do an objective, even though it's a single player game. I feel like modern gaming has just made me have such low expectations that things that were regular standard in 2007 has made me be like, oh yeah, that's actually a positive, not a neutral thing anymore. Because, like, not being bothered by the game constantly trying to get me to buy something is now a bonus, and it's like a positive thing that I feel like I need to mention, which just shows how terrible it is nowadays, and why I feel like going backwards and playing games of older. I've been wanting to do that more, or indie games, because, like, I'm just so sick and tired of modern gaming right now. At least in especially multiplayer games and even single player games. They're depending on where you're going. It's super annoying to play them sometimes. And going back to playing Bioshock 18 years later was so refreshing, and it made me appreciate gaming much more again. Because this is why we enjoy video games when we play them, not because of the microtransactions and the dopamine. I mean, to be fair, we are playing them because of the dopamine, but not so blatant. And after playing it more, and getting to the ending, playing the whole game, even though I'm not showing it, it was really refreshing. And even though I feel like I shouldn't be as impressed with just how the game is, because I do feel like Bioshock 1 is very basic when you think about it when it comes to the gameplay, like we talked about earlier. It's very basic. The shooting isn't complicated. The upgrade system isn't very complicated. It's just like, do you have enough money to buy this? If yes, click buy. The ammo system, I guess, is the slight more complication with the anti-personnel, but it's mostly just a toggle. The plasmids, while cool, are very self-explanatory. They're not super complicated. And the upgrades to Jack you can do aren't very complicated either. Like, the game is very simple when you think about it. But, like, all those systems together make a interesting system to combine with and to play with and to see if things work. It's just so interesting to see. And I just feel like it's a very satisfying game to play, which I feel like is a strange thing to say, because I don't know why I feel like I need to say this, or like I feel the need to explain it like this, but Bioshock, when after I played it, I just felt very satisfied. I was like, that was a fun experience. I'm glad I did that. And I feel like it's because of the satisfying things you can do in the game. Like the electrocuting a guy and hitting them with the wrench in the beginning, the 1-2 punch, is amazing. It never not feels good. And rescuing the little sisters, having the boss fights from the big daddies to rescue them. Even the story moments, even though we've seen them a million times at this point, it's still cool and interesting, and I love the concept. The concept of Rapture is still really interesting, and even if Bioshock 4 isn't in Rapture, I feel like it'd be interesting to see where they want to go with it. Because I do feel like we've done Rapture. Like, we've done it twice, we've done a bunch of times with the DLC. And I do kind of not like how they added time travel with the whole Bioshock Infinite stuff, but that's where they went. So who knows what Bioshock 4 is going to do, if it ever comes out. But even so, playing the older games is still really fun. You can love or hate where the sequels went with it, but I still think the first one is such a fun game to play that I have never really regretted playing it. And the only times I regret playing it is when I have to change my resolution every 5 seconds, because for some reason, every time I launch the game, it changes the resolution settings. But that's why you play the remastered. For regular people, you get the remastered because it's just more modern settings. And it was just a really fun experience and a very satisfying experience, like I said earlier. So I feel like going back and playing Bioshock was really worth it for me. And if you haven't, I would highly recommend going back and playing Bioshock. Do another playthrough. I really enjoyed it. And I'll be doing more not playthroughs. It's not like I'm doing a let's play, but I'll be doing more videos like this on games. So let me know what you guys think about in the comments down below, what you guys would like me to talk about or to play. If I own them, I definitely will put it on. If I'm not, if I have to buy it and because I don't own it, then it might be slightly delayed, of course. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I really appreciate it if you do. If you'd like to support me directly, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. Please go over there and join all of these nice people. In the credits, you also get a once a month live stream that you can vote on with a poll on the Patreon, and we can hang out and have fun. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you'd like to see last Friday's video, it is right here on my face. And if you'd like to check out a different video, there is also another one as well. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you another time. Goodbye, everyone.